All right, now it's for the exciting part, and that is grilling. So the first step with grilling is you want to heat up your grill, get it on high. You let it sit for, say, 5-10 minutes to get nice and hot. Then open that bad boy up, and take your grill brush and scrub off any burnt on food. Or if you happen to have rust or something like that, this is where you want to scrub all that crap off. The second most important step of grilling is make sure that you stay well hydrated. Stay well hydrated. That's what I meant to say. Okay, looks good. So, one thing that a lot of people suggest, but isn't necessarily a requirement, is to oil your grate. And so you can take something like olive oil or vegetable oil, something that's a high smoke point, and take a bunch of paper towel, and you just kind of ball it up a little bit, grab it in your tongs, and you can either dip it in oil or you can pour some oil, which I'm going to do over the ground. You don't want to pour it over the fire. Whoops. Should probably open up the oil first. And then once you get that oil nice and on that paper towel, take that bad boy and kind of grease up your grates. You get a little more oil on there. And make sure you don't catch your paper towel on fire here. Okay, not necessarily the best job ever, but that'll do for now. All right, so we've got our veggies we want to cook and we've got our steak. So we've got our veggie basket here. We're gonna put it directly on the grill, and we're gonna lower our heat to medium on those two burners. This is a helpful for life. All right, so when you're grilling, and if you accidentally knock over your glass beer and shatter it all over your feet and your white pants, realize you should probably not wear white pants when you're cooking, because you'll spill beer on them, you'll spill coffee on them, and it's not necessarily the best idea. But anyways, enough about that. Let's get back to the grilling. So we've got our vegetable pan here directly on the grill, and we've got it on medium, and this is a 3-burner grill, so 1, 2, 3. So we got these two on medium. We're gonna go ahead and dump our veggies right into that basket. Sizzle, sizzle, baby. Let's use our tongs, kind of spread those out. This is on medium heat, and we'll see exactly how long it takes, but I'm guessing somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes on medium. We'll stir those occasionally. Because of that, we'll go ahead and close the lid, help that get a little bit of the oven effect, so the heat will circulate a little bit before we put our meat on, because our meat's probably only going to take a couple minutes each side. So we'll see how that goes, and meanwhile, here's to you. So when you're grilling, one thing you want to keep in mind is how much you open and close the lid. Because when you open the lid, you're letting the heat out, and you're removing that, what I'll call the baking effect, where you've got the hot air that's trapped inside, cooking it from all sides. Obviously, you've still got the heat coming from the bottom, giving it that direct heat, but you're losing that baking effect. So to be honest, I haven't cooked veggies like this in a while, so I'm keeping a little more of an eye on them to make sure I don't overcook them. But ideally you leave this closed for longer periods of time to help it cook, kind of like that oven effect like I was mentioning. So we're getting a little bit of that char and grill on some of it. Most of it's just kind of getting a little cooked and softened, but we've got a handful of pieces in there that are getting the nice grill marks on there. In reality, you can eat the squash raw, so it's not really about a food safety thing. It's more about giving it a little bit of extra flavor and getting it the right texture. And we're starting to get some of that browning that we want to see on both the squash and the green squash. All right, let's throw this beef on. That smells delicious. Just make sure it's nice and flat on the grill. And so we've got that on high. I'm going to lower it down to medium high. And that's only going to take a couple of minutes on each side. All right, let's see how this steak's looking. Getting a little bit of grill marks on there. Not quite ready to flip yet. So now that we've used these tongs on our raw beef, we'll keep it to the raw beef for now, and we'll use these other tongs for the veggies. Give those a little bit of a toss. Oh yeah, and the ones on the bottom are definitely getting those delicious grill marks on there. And to be able to tell when this squash is done, you can just take your tong and kind of just stick it inside of a piece of squash to see how firm it is. And you know, it starts off decently firm, but after it's cooked for a while, it'll soften up. And these are probably good to eat, but caught that. Those are probably good to eat, but we will let them cook a little more. Hopefully we can get a little bit more of that grill mark on there, make it even more tasty. Keeping hydrated. All right, let's flip this steak. You know, take the tongs and kind of loosen it up a little bit, just in case it's stuck a little bit. Oh yeah, that's looking beautiful. And toss our veggies again. Oops. Those are gonna be tasty. And the steak isn't gonna take nearly as long on this side as it does the other side. And the way you know the steak is done is one way, which is kind of the recommended way, is you stick in a probe thermometer into the thickest part of the meat to see how hot it is, make sure it gets that recommended temperature. And as you know, with beef, there's rare, medium rare, all the way to well done.
One thing that you'll see people do to determine if meat is done is poke it and see how firm it is. You may have even heard of the finger test, where you tell the different levels of doneness by pinching different fingers, as you can see on screen. Don't do this. Although there's a correlation between firmness and doneness, it varies based on a lot of factors. The type of meat, type of cut, thickness of cut, how long it was aged, quality of the meat, so on and so on. Not to mention the fact that everyone's hands are different. When you see chefs poking meat at a restaurant, it's because they are always getting the same meat at the same thickness, and they've cooked thousands of them the same way, so they can tell. Another way people say you can tell doneness is by the color of the meat or the juices. Don't do this either. Again, there are more factors than you may realize, including many of the ones I've already mentioned. Another factor is how long the meat has been exposed to air. Check out this picture showing two pieces of pork cut right next to each other, but the piece shown on the bottom was exposed to air for 10 minutes. Wow, the piece in the bottom looks much more rare even though they were cooked the same. One last big factor is light. Things look different in broad daylight than under an incandescent light than under LED lights. Adam Ragusia has a cool video on this. You should check it out. The bottom line, in case you haven't figured it out yet, use a thermometer. We have a whole video stressing the value of a thermometer, which admits that I should have used one while filming. Make sure you watch it if you haven't already.
And with the beef, we're going to want to take it off a couple of minutes before we think it's done, because it will retain some of that heat and it will continue to cook after we've taken it off the heat. So I thought this steak was just a little less than we want to do. So we're going to take it off here in just a second, as well as the veggies, because those were looking good, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, let's get this stuff off the grill. So start off with the beef. Take these bad boy. And then let's grab this grill basket here. You can use your tongs and pull it like this, or you can get yourself a nice little pot holder. And then we'll close the grill. Yeah, those veggies look good. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and turn off our heat. And we recommend to turn off the gas source as well. In this case, we've got natural gas, so I'll go cut off the gas line. But if you have propane, make sure you close that propane off just as an extra measure of safety. So you can see what we've accomplished here. We've got our beef here and our veggies. So let's take these bad boys inside and get us some fajitas.